Okay, if we're going to get this started, the regularly scheduled meeting of the Montezuma County Planning and Zoning Commission is being held in the Commissioners' Meeting Room in Montezuma County Administrative Offices, 109 West Main, Room 270, Cortez, Colorado. We're going to open with the Pledge of Allegiance, and then a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Don, can we have roll call, please?
Commissioner Farian is absent. Commissioner Hernandez?
Here.
Commissioner Saunders?
Here.
Commissioner Taylor?
Present.
Commissioner Lynch?
Here.
Commissioner Neergaard?
Here.
Also present are Don Haley and Dane Duncan, County Planning. Absent is Zach Farron. Please silence or turn off your cell phones during the meeting. Important calls can be taken outside of the meeting room.
Took Bradshaw's out.
No.
Planning and Zoning Commission, have you reviewed the last minutes?
Yes. I'm sorry, I had her attention.
Pardon?
I said, I'm asking if they reviewed the minutes for last meeting.
Yes,
Okay, no corrections?
I believe there are some corrections.
Okay, go ahead, Mike.
All the votes that were taken, the vote count is the same, and I believe they're incorrect. The vote counts on page 1, 3, 5, 7, and 8 should not be 2 ayes, 3 absent. They should be 4 ayes, 0 nays, as far as I understand.
What are the page numbers, please?
Page 1, 3, 5, 7, and 8, if I read those right, but it's all the votes. No other correction.
Okay, no other corrections? Okay, can I have a motion for someone?
I'll make a motion to approve the July 13th? Is that right? Oh, yeah, July 13th, 2023 Planning and Zoning Mission minutes.
That's corrected.
Okay, motion was seconded by Commissioner Lynch. We have a vote.
Commissioner Hernandez?
Aye.
Commissioner Saunders?
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor?
Aye.
Commissioner Lynch?
Aye.
Commissioner Neergaard?
Aye.
Okay, no discussion, there is corrections. Okay, the Montezuma County Planning Commission welcomes you to this meeting. The board is comprised of members who are tasked to make recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners. We're not the decision makers. We encourage public comment after each permit. Persons speaking during the public comment will be limited to 3 minutes, or depending on the number of people wishing to speak, it may be reduced at the discretion of the Planning Commission to allow all members of the public the opportunity to address their thoughts and concerns. When addressing the commissioners, please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record prior to providing your comments. Comments to individual applicants are not permitted. Participants may not yield their times to others. I will be voting tonight. Can we have roll call, please, Don?
Commissioner Hernandez?
Here.
Commissioner Saunders?
Here.
Commissioner Taylor?
Present.
Commissioner Lynch?
Here.
Commissioner Neergaard?
Here.
Okay, notice is hereby given. County that the County Montezuma Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing for the purpose of reviewing and determine recommendations to be made to the Board of County Commissioners regarding a proposed single-lot development and AR-3-9 rezoning application submitted by Raymond and Patsy Kysar and with the agent of James Kennedy on property located at 17184 Forest Service Road 559, Mancos County, consisting of 5 acres more or less located north of Highway 184, west of Forest Service Road 561, situated in Section 14, Township 37 North, Range 13 west of the New Mexico Prime Meridian. The applicants wish to come forward, please.
Just to the
Just
table.
right
Yeah,
Yep, and you'll need to turn on the microphone.
turn on your mic, yeah. There you go, thank you. Okay, this is a public hearing. Was the public notice published?
Yes, sir?
Was evidence of letters to the adjoining neighbors and mineral owners submitted?
Yes, sir?
Was the sign posted?
Yes, sir?
Okay, can we have planning department findings?
The applicants proposed to create a single lot development consisting of 5 acres, more or less. The current small acreage was created by deed only, and it was not properly divided. The remaining 833 acres will continue to be Forest Service or forested land, vacant land. The surrounding properties, there are just a few in the area that are agricultural and residential uses. However, the service property is surrounded by Forest Service lands. The applicants have indicated that this will be an off-grid dry cabin, so there will be no infrastructure.
So by dry cabin, you're referring to off the grid, basically?
Off the grid, yes.
Okay. Discussion, commissioners, anybody?
I'm kind of curious about what you might have been referring to earlier about landlocked.
Being the property surrounded by Forest Service property, it is landlocked. The road that cuts through it, which was Service Road 559?
559.
Okay, that's going through private property. So then the Forest Service should have an easement if that is.
That's the way I
it's-
understand it.
Yeah, it's a private property, so they have a road.
And it
That
is not
is-
landlocked.
Yeah, well, it's not landlocked?
It shouldn't be. If the easement goes through their property,
No, well, but the property in general is
Yeah,
landlocked, yes,
yeah.
yes. But the road, 559, does go through private property, so the Forest Service has an easement on it.
Well, I guess what I'm wondering is this little 5-acre piece is there in the center by itself with no shown easement for access from the Forest Service road to the property. And so I'm wondering, I'm just thinking in the future, if that were ever to be sold, it's by itself without any access that is, legally established. So I'm just curious. I don't know if this is gonna affect things or not.
So the Forest Service Road gives access to the property, and then there will be a deeded easement for the 800 acres to this 5-acre lot.
So,
But there is none at this time.
No, because it hasn't been created yet.
yeah, so there's a single owner owning the
Well-
large piece and the small piece, right? Because you
Yeah.
can't have an easement granted to yourself.
Yeah.
But, yeah, if the gentleman's gonna sell it, yes, there would have to be some kind of an access easement
Correct.
from 559.
Okay.
Okay. Is there anything else that you would like to?
No, there's
No?
nothing I need to, there's
Okay.
no question.
I do have one question. I was kind of curious, and that's all it is curiosity. Where did you post the sign? Did you post it on the 5 acres?
No,
Where was it posted?
it was posted on road. Let me see if I can find that road. 3. The road where the Forest Service could see it, and everybody else, it was on the corner of 385, off Road 385. I can show you exactly where it was posted on this picture.
Maybe, well, I don't know how that would be done.
He was told to post it where the Greene County Road started on 385, and that's where he posted it.
On 385, okay. Thank you.
Down there, okay. Okay, do we have any public comment? Okay, seeing none, bring it back to the commissioners for a motion.
I will make a motion to recommend to the Board of County Commissioners to approve a proposed single lot development and AR 3-9 rezoning application submitted by Raymond and Patsy Kysar, Agent James Kennedy, based on the following. The proposed use is in conformity with the code. The proposed use shall not generate any significant adverse impacts on other property in the area, and public utilities and services are available or can be made available to support uses consistent with the proposed zoning, and I have no conditions.
Second that.
Okay, it was seconded by Commissioner Newgarden.
No, I was Eddie.
Eddie,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Eddie.
That's Taylor, sorry. Okay. Can we have the vote?
Commissioner Hernandez,
Aye.
Commissioner Saunders,
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor,
Aye.
Commissioner Lynch,
aye.
Commissioner Neergard.
Aye.
Okay, the motion passed and it was unanimous. Thank you, congratulations.
Could I ask Jane a question? Do I need to return that sign?
Yes, please,
Okay, thank you.
so that I can get the information changed on it for your next meeting.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And item number 2, the applicant has withdrawn.
Okay, so number 2 is not going to happen tonight. Moving forward, go to item number 3. Notice is hereby given the Montezuma County Planning.
I
I'm
gotta
sorry.
do roll call
I'm
first.
sorry,
John.
roll call. I'm sorry.
Commissioner Hernandez,
Here. That's-
Commissioner Saunders,
Here.
Commissioner Taylor,
Present.
Commissioner Lynch,
Here,
Commissioner Neergard.
I'm jumping the gun. There is football tonight, you know. Notice is hereby given that the Montezuma County Planning and Zoning Commissioners will hold a public hearing for review and discussion of amending the Land Use Code subdivision regulation as it relates to the Mancos RE6 School District fee in lieu of land dedication fee increase and finalizing the fees for other school districts. Okay, we have an applicant. May come forward, if there is someone.
There is no applicant,
Okay,
other than the school district
This is
has
strictly-
submitted their resolution.
okay, what are we doing then? Oh, there's a resolution.
So what they have done, they held their public hearings, I believe with the town and the school district. They have adopted a fee increase for fees in lieu of land, which is part of the subdivision regulations, that for every lot that is created, then a fee, it was $276, and that fee is going up to, I believe it's $550. $550.
Assisted, yeah. And the fee before was 270?
$276. That last fee was adopted in 2006. So whenever a subdivision Mylar is approved, then there is a signature page for the school district.
Mhm.
So those fees get paid directly to the school district, whether it's Cortez, Mancos, or Dolores. And then they'll sign that Mylar
Okay,
prior to the county commissioners seeing it.
okay. Then the subdivider or fee owner would be subject to those
Right,
fees per lot.
per lot.
Okay. Is there-
So you, as the commission, you would just need to have a motion to adopt this resolution for the Mancos RE6 School District as an amendment to our subdivision regulations. Actually, it's just a recommendation to the
To-
county commission
It's got to go to the commissioners.
to it, yes,
Okay,
to
do
approve
any
this
other-
resolution.
Any other discussion?
Did this go out with a packet? Because I haven't seen this before.
This resolution,
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
yeah.
Should have.
So
I didn't get one.
I didn't
Yeah.
get a chance to review it, and so I don't feel comfortable voting on it.
Take a minute and read it.
It wasn't in my package either.
Yeah,
It-
none of us
it-
received it.
If you'll look on your screen, you can read through it.
Yeah, basically, it's just, they're wanting more money for the schools.
Right, they're just increasing their fee because it hasn't been changed for 20 or whatever, 17 years. So they're increasing the fee to be more in line with what housing and land prices have done over the course of 2 decades.
Okay, we know what is here from the school districts, and is there a public comment? With none, can bring it back to you guys, commissioners, for a motion?
I'll make a motion to recommend to the Board of County Commissioners to approve a proposed amendment to the Land Use Code subdivision regulation as it relates to the Mancos RE6 School District fee in lieu of land dedication fee increase, and finalizing the fees for the other school districts based on the following. The proposed use is in conformity with the code. Proposed use shall not generate any significant adverse impacts on other property in the area, and public utilities and services are available or can be made available to support uses consistent with the proposed zoning. I have no conditions.
I'll second it.
Second, okay. It's been motion and seconded. No further discussion. Call for the vote, Don.
Commissioner Hernandez,
Aye.
Commissioner Saunders,
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor,
Aye.
Commissioner Lynch,
Abstain.
Commissioner Neergard.
Aye.
Okay, motion was passed, 4-1,
That would be 4-0.
4-0, sorry. 4-0,
One
'cause he abstained,
abstention.
right. Okay. Okay, moving forward, can we have roll call, Don?
Commissioner Hernandez,
Here?
Commissioner Saunders,
Here.
Commissioner Taylor,
Present.
Commissioner Lynch,
Here.
Commissioner Neergard.
Here.
Okay, number 4. Notice is hereby given, the Montezuma County Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing for the purpose of reviewing and determining recommendations to be made to the Board of County Commissioners regarding a proposed high-impact special use permit application and commercial planned unit development and rezoning application submitted by Ramble Outdoors Incorporated, agent for Benny and Sandra Cordova, on property located to be determined on Road 31, Dolores, Colorado, consisting of 9.05 acres, more or less, and Conrad and Eva Hoover on property located at 29485 Road M, consisting of 24.12 acres, more or less, both located north of Road M, west of Road 31, situated in Section 9, Township 36 North, Range 15 West of the New Mexico Prime Meridian. Would the applicant like to come forward?
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name's Dieter Erdman. I'm Land Partnership Director for Ramble Outdoors Incorporated.
Okay.
Our address is 150 Capitol Drive, Suite 200, Golden, Colorado 80401.
Okay. This is a public hearing. Was the public notice published?
Yes, sir?
Was evidence to the letters of the adjoining neighbors and mineral owners submitted?
Yes, sir?
When there's a moment to say something, we're neighbors, we didn't get anything.
Okay.
We'll have public comment in a minute.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Was a sign posted?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, Planning Department findings.
Ramble Outdoors proposes to develop and operate a low-density, high-quality private campground, providing a new hospitality option for visitors. If Ramble can achieve occupancy targets and demonstrate camping demand, it is likely that they will pursue an expansion, but that is not being sought for at this time. The property is surrounded by BLM land to the east and the north, agricultural and vacant land to the west and the south. Ramble Outdoors has met with County Road Superintendent Rob Engelhardt on site prior to applying for a driveway permit to ensure line of sight and distance. And then they have submitted a driveway application based on the outcome of that visit. Empire Electric has stated that there is electricity available to each property location, but the applicants have indicated that this parcel will be an off-grid campground. Therefore, there won't be any other infrastructure. The Ramble campground will operate off-grid from electricity, telephone, and gas. Electricity for campground operations will be provided through PV systems located on site and permitted through the state of Colorado. Internet service will be provided through Starlink satellite-based system. All other energy demands will be met through the use of propane. The rural water service will be through Montezuma Water Company, and they have stated they do not currently provide water, have water available for these parcels, but they have been in talks with the owners and can get water to these parcels, and should they pay for proposed mainline extensions, water will be available at that time. Ramble has requested service from Montezuma Water Company, and they have assessed the water usage and evaluated the best approach to provide water service for that property. And that's basically it. Oh, actually, the health department has issued a comment too. Right now, there are septic permits on the property, both properties. Ramble has hired Gray Water Engineering to engineer and design a septic system based on anticipated water use. And the environmental health specialist commented that some of the campsites will have a sink supplied with 5 gallons of potable water. The engineer has designed underground disposal for the waste from the sink. However, this is not through a septic tank and leach line. It is a sand gravel filtration basin. Gray water is still required to go through a septic tank in Montezuma County. The Board of Health has not developed a gray water use system program yet. If they are wanting to supply this to campers, maybe a wash sink for dishes located separately in the bathrooms or a separate utility room would be a better use, since this would be connected to the septic system.
Okay. Anyone like to add to that?
I would just add, what we're proposing is a 25-site campground currently that'll be served by a central bathroom structure, what we call a comfort station, that'll have showers and flush toilets, as well as a centralized utility sink for doing things like dishes and that kind of thing. So that'll be the centralized and the site of services for all the campsites.
For 25, is it?
That's right.
25.
Dieter, did you want to go over your overview, your company, your narrative, or?
Sure, happy to. Absolutely.
It's on the screen.
Okay,
as
yeah.
well.
So, and I'll just give you a background, but essentially we're a campground developer and operator based out of Golden, Colorado. We've got a location open in Alamosa County, the Great Sand Dunes National Park and Preserve, and we have several other sites that we're in kind of this entitlement process with. But what we're looking to do is we're developing a chain of campgrounds that we hope to expand across the United States. Basically, our niche is going to be providing low-density campgrounds to folks who enjoy tent, trailer, van camping. So what we're trying to differentiate ourselves from is RV parks. We're not going to be providing full hookups for RVs. We're catering to folks who want a more traditional camping experience. And each of our campsites is going to be about 1/3 of an acre. And so we're trying to provide privacy for folks. There will be an internal road system that will allow folks to pull their vehicles right into their campsites. We've chosen Montezuma County for a number of reasons, and this location in particular for a number of reasons. We're obviously the national park's a big tourism draw. You've also got a really well-developed mountain bike trail system here in Montezuma County, which a lot of the folks that we're trying to target are outdoor enthusiasts. We have leased the land on a 15-year basis from the Hovers and the Cordovas, who are the underlying property owners. They're here tonight, also present at the meeting.
Okay. Do we have any discussion? Commissioners?
What have you guys done for like fire suppression and things like that? People are gonna be out there camping.
Sure. Obviously, that's a huge concern here. I mean, you're under a fire ban right now, and it's a arid part of the world. So, so far, what I've done is reached out to the Colorado State Forest Service and requested some technical assistance from them in terms of locating a certified forester that can help us with a comprehensive wildfire mitigation plan. It's been slow in coming, but we've called some folks that we've gotten some references for. In addition, I have met previously with Cortez Fire on the property to talk about infrastructure in terms of what we're going to build there, where that's going to be located generally, what the road system's going to look like generally, to get feedback in terms of emergency response from Cortez Fire. I'm actually meeting again with them tomorrow on site to do a walkthrough of the property to identify areas for immediate treatment. But essentially, what Fire Adapted Colorado, or Wildfire Adapted, has recommended as a comprehensive wildfire mitigation plan. We plan to proceed with that. And essentially what that'll mean is that we'll be doing both preventative measures in terms of mitigation on site, so trying to reduce crown density in some areas. We'll be certainly clearing around potential ignition points. Each site will have a fire ring. We're using solo stoves as our fire rings. They don't emit a lot of smoke or spark because they've got a secondary combustion element. So that is a decision that we've made in order to try to reduce that kind of sparking. Anytime that there's obviously a fire ban or any type of fire restrictions, a campground will comply with those restrictions. In addition, we're going to have a 2,000-gallon non-potable source of water on the property that can be used for any type of flare-up before emergency responders can be on site, and we'll have also fire extinguishers at each site. So that's just the beginning. Obviously, like I said, we're going to work with somebody who can help us assemble a mitigation plan that will be a living document that we can continue managing.
I have a question. In the application, it says electricity for campground operations will be provided through multiple PV systems located on site. Can you explain what those are? I'm not familiar with that.
Sure, it's just solar electric, so with battery storage.
Solar electric, what
So
does PV stand for?
Photovoltaic,
Oh,
solar.
yes.
Yeah. So we've developed some systems down at our other campground. We're running our groundwater well and our water filtration system off of solar. And we have basically, again, we're not trying to cater to RV campers, so we're not going to be doing electrical hookups. But each site will have kind of a 110 power source where you can do things like charge electronics and, you know, essentially anything but run air conditioning and refrigeration, right? So each site will have that capability at some level. Then there'll be a centralized system that'll help and storage for the comfort station, you know, lighting and such.
You sound like you've done this before, and you sound like a very professional group. Why can't we see something more detailed? I don't see where are you going to put this tank. I don't see where the photovoltaic sites are going to be.
This is the tank on your
I don't see a
screen.
legend. I don't have a legend on mine. Am I missing? Honestly, I'm missing sheets then.
Yeah.
Because I don't have that.
Might have been the way it was copied, I don't know.
Might have been.
There's your legend and there's your,
Yeah, because I got half of this right there. The
so
rest
here's,
got cut
here's your
off.
front gate
So they didn't-
entrance.
I didn't get the
The
full
gray
package.
part's your two-way road.
It was the same on mine.
The lighter gray are
Mhm.
one-ways. This is one way in, these are one way out. These
all
are a
coming out through
common,
the entrance.
yeah, this is the entrance.
I got that part.
Two-way in and out, this is the check-in.
Okay,
One-way in, up here is the cul-de-sac for turnaround, so this stretch here is two-way. And it's one-way back out this way or around that way.
okay,
This is a septic leach field, the bathrooms and shower, that's a
Leach field,
combination unit, right, Peter?
That's right. That's correct.
So there's the central restrooms on the leach field. Hydrants, I gotta blow this up to show them to you.
okay.
Hydrants are the red dots there.
Where's the solar gonna be? Actually, the dots, the red dots are the hydrants.
Right,
Yeah.
solar's at each site.
It's gonna be, sorry?
The solar will be
Solar is
located
at each site,
Oh, each site,
Campground.
okay, so
Yep.
each site's.
And then a main one.
Single panel type deal.
a main
That's right.
solar down at the check-in
Okay.
office.
Okay.
Are you still looking at having the 3 RV sites with the kitchen units or no?
They're up in the air. There'll be sites there. It's not clear whether we're gonna specifically target those for RV at this point.
Okay.
Yeah.
One option they have is an efficiency kitchen. I'll let you elaborate unless you,
Sure, absolutely, and this is what Jane was referring to with the health department. So this is our group campsite. This is bigger than, this would be the biggest and most complex site we offer. As you can see, there's a grill there, we've got several picnic tables, and then built-in kitchen structure, overhead lighting. The kitchen structure is essentially 2 built-in Camp Chef camp stoves that are operated by propane, as well as a utility sink that's operated by a foot pump. And that's what we're referring to with the gray water. In our other location, we're using a groundwater filtration matrix for that, that's run through a hose off of that. But I think the way that we would adapt this based on the feedback from county health is probably what I believe that we'll do is we will have a buried collector that we will then remove from each site and dump that into the septic system. So rather than having a, local gray water dump there, it'll be a collection that we'll have a utility vehicle that we'll bring around, and we'll be refilling the water at these sites and then collecting the gray water and bringing that to the septic.
Oh, okay, so each site's gonna have a gray water basically area and then.
But it'll
siphon
basically
it.
have a container. Yeah.
Okay, container, and then
Right,
siphon it.
right. So 5 gallons in, 5 gallons out. Yeah. Yeah, sorry about the scale of these maps. They were formatted for 11 by 17.
Yeah.
For the
Well,
packet there.
It got printed on that size, just not all of it.
Yeah,
That's
gotcha.
all.
Gotcha.
here's the expanded view of the entrance.
Mhm.
I think you got that.
And there is no other entrance other than that? So no
Single
emergency?
entrance there. We, because of the Bureau of Land Management, land and topography, so Bureau of Land Management is located to the east of the property and to the north, and that would be the logical location for an emergency egress.
Emergency.
Now, we can talk to BLM about that and whether they might allow it, because the Simon Draw Trailhead, as you can see, for Phil's World is located just to the east of the property. So some connection to that trailhead would make sense, but it's not clear whether that's going to be feasible from a public land perspective. So in lieu of that, I spoke with the county sheriff. He recommended that we create essentially a safe space in the center of the campground that would be a 100-foot cleared area, where folks, if they were to become marooned there during a fire situation, that there would be a clearing for them, basically. But again, as Don alluded to, we've tried to make as many of these roadways as we can, given the topographical limitations, one way. with basically that all exiting traffic, the permanent traffic flow will be that all exiting traffic will have right of way.
This is the BLM's new parking lot for Phil's World that they just
There,
put.
yeah, for the trailhead, so I mean, you could get to the trailhead and walk out, yeah.
Yes,
Or bicycle-
potentially.
or bicycle out.
Yep.
And I was just thinking of a fire down in the lower area where the actual driving entrance was. If something happened there, then the people would be trapped up inside.
Yeah, understood,
they could exit
understood.
that way.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons that we've got the underground cistern plan there, and again, I mean, you could exit the property on foot. We'll have emergency response plan for the campground that will, guide how these things, what would happen in an emergency.
Mhm.
So,
Okay, anything else? Okay, let's go to public comment then. Did you wish to speak? Yeah, public comment, that's all right. Come to the podium and state your name and address, and figure out what's going on here.
My name is Sandra McBride, and this is my husband, Andy Schwartz, and we live at 12750 Road 31, which is just kind of where Road 31 and Road M meet. We're on the south side of Road 31. So some of my questions have to do with, I don't understand what the new zoning would mean in total of, if we didn't have this applicant and you were putting a new zoning on that, what is it? How many people, what kind of uses? Could you just give me a little background on, aside from this, what does that new zoning allow?
Okay, you want to answer that, Don?
Well, we'll answer it after public comment's
After
over.
public comment, okay.
Sure. More?
Yeah,
Yeah, if I can join you.
Sure.
It's at some point, if this enterprise happened and it became unviable, what would happen to the zoning after that?
okay.
And about this in particular, you said 25 campsites, and then some mention was made of future density goals. How dense?
sure, I can answer that. I don't think that we'd have room for more than an additional 9 or 10 campsites.
For the record, the questions do have to be directed towards the
Yes.
commission and not
Oh.
the applicant.
And
Sure.
we'll let them answer.
So a question would be, what would the zoning allow? Is that addressed in the zoning, the maximum number of campsites that would be permitted?
Okay.
Will the concern be staffed on site? Is there on-site management? If so, is it there all the time? That would go to, say, noise concerns, among other things.
Yeah, we've done some camping of our own, and people are there to have a good time, but it can get out of hand, especially in any kind of group campsites or anything. So we would like to know about the levels of staffing. I'm also wondering about the road system internally. Is that an opportunity for dust? Depends on what the plans are for surfacing it. I'd like to know if it's a year-round operation. And I think this is unlikely, but are there issues or concerns or limitations on the amount of night lighting? It sounds like with the 110, et cetera, there will be some lighting because you've got people and they need lights, but how might that affect
Okay.
that
I'm sorry, your
area?
time is up. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, darn, we should have each taken a turn.
Is there any other
You think?
public comment? No? Okay, seeing none, Don, let's try to address those issues if we can.
So I can address the zoning issue.
Zoning issues, yeah.
Yeah, so the Cordova property, which is basically inside this orange and yellow zone, will have the infrastructure on it as far as the restrooms, showers, and septic system. And this would be rezoned as commercial. This other part in the orange is just a fractional part of the Hover property. It would be included in the legal description of the PUD envelope, but it would not be rezoned because there's another 30 acres out there that's not part of the project. The land use code does allow for more than one parcel or fraction of a parcel to be included in a PUD.
Then, okay. So that goes. So the orange is the Cordova property. Well, all of that is basically, right?
So here's your map.
Yeah. There it is.
So this 7 acres or so is the Cordova property.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's coming down here on the east side. But it's not encompassing the rest of this acreage
Of Hoover.
of Hovers, correct. So it's just this,
So the zoning change and the high impact is gonna be for basically the Cordova properties?
zoning change on Cordova. The high impact permit is for the whole commercial envelope, as well as the PUD is the commercial envelope. So if they should cease to operate, the Cordova property would stay zone commercial. The campground, PUD, and high impact permit would dissolve.
Would dissolve.
It goes with with that envelope and for that operation. So if Cordova wanted to do another commercial enterprise later on, that generated any kinds of traffic, they would have to have their own high impact permit application for whatever use or purpose they are looking to develop.
Okay.
Don, could you go over commercial envelope? I was trying to read up on that, and I'm having difficulty finding it.
So basically, it's a commercial envelope because they're not gonna rezone 150 acres of Hover's property commercial. Since this is only a fractional part within a PUD that will have its own legal description, that is the commercial operation. That's what's defined, and would be the part of Hover's property.
So, I acknowledge that I'm still learning and whatnot, but under the high-impact commercial industrial permitting section, which is where I find the high-impact permit, it's for commercial and industrial development, correct?
Correct.
And the Cordova property is going to go from AR 3 to 9 to commercial. So I have no issue with that. That seems right. The other property, the Hover property, is going to go from AR 35, and their crested zoning is commercial envelope, but I don't see that in the list of
It is not being rezoned. The commercial envelope will extend onto their property with the special use permit that goes with the high impact permit. That is the special use of that fractional part of their property that would be covered under the high impact permit.
Belonging to Hoover.
So
Okay.
where in the land use code does it address that situation?
So AR property with is available to have a special use permit applied to it. And so then you can have the high impact permit with that as well. You
Yes,
can't have
but-
just a high impact permit on the AR property.
Right. As I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, a high impact permit requires commercial or industrial zoning.
Not if it's in conjunction with a special use permit on AR property. So a PUD has its own special particular stipulations, such as it could be, well, like this, it covers 2 properties, which normally just a high impact permit cannot. So the PUD specifications and parameters are what would be covered by the high impact permit, special use permit. Zoning's only changing on Cordova's because infrastructure is gonna remain on the property, whether they operate a campground or if they leave after 15 years. But that's strictly all that property is being used for is commercial.
What other questions do we have?
And if you want, Dieter, you can go ahead and
Yeah, address the staff.
address the other points that
The
they had
staff
brought
issue.
up, as far as surface and hours of operation, years or months of operation.
Sure, absolutely. And Matt Osterly, our CEO, is participating via Zoom. He might answer the question about staffing. But I can answer the other questions. Again, I addressed the question of how many additional sites we might add through a future expansion. It wouldn't be doubling the size of the campground. It would be incremental, an incremental addition of, you know, again, it's 5 years plus down the road, but we would envision about 10 additional sites. The road surface is going to be crushed gravel, and we've got a number of dust mitigation practices. First, the speed limit is going to be very slow on the property. It'll be 10 miles an hour. So with slower speeds come less dust. A lot of the answers to a lot of these questions are going to be, if it's not good for our neighbors, it's not going to be good for our users. So when it comes to noise, when it comes to dust, when it comes to fire danger, distance to water, all those things, we want our customers to be happy, right? We're trying to deliver a quality experience. So, you know, other additional dust mitigation that we can use is, you know, calcium chloride spraying if that becomes an issue. But there's all sorts of ways that we can reduce dust from the site. And again, if it's going so far as to bother the neighbors, it's going to be an issue for our campers. So it's something that we're going to want to address. In terms of lighting, all of our lights that we will be using on the site are going to be dark sky compliant lighting. That's important to us as a campground and with the folks that we're trying to have as customers. And we're proposing generally a 7-month season, so April 1st through the end of October. It's possible that if there was demand for camping beyond those months that we could expand it, but I don't anticipate that that's going to be the case. And I may have Matt address the question about on-site management, if it's possible for him to participate.
Hello, are you able to hear me?
Go ahead.
Yes. Hi, my name is Matt Osterly. I work also with Dieter out of the location at 150 Capitol Drive in Gold, Colorado. To speak to our on-site presence, we will have a camp host who will be on the property 24/7. That camp host responds to any questions the customers have between the hours of 8 a.m. and 10 p.m. In real time. Customers can let the camp host know that there's an issue by texting a phone number that is posted at each location, or rather at each campsite, and that then submits a ticket through a service we use called Zendesk, and we track very closely how quickly the camp host responds to the ticket based on what the issue is. They can also go to the camp host's station and locate them in person there. And so those are between the hours of 8 a.m. and 10 p.m. That's how you can address issues. In addition to that, we then also have a phone number that campers can call 24/7. If they are unable to locate the camp host or the camp host is asleep, that call is routed to a call center that we use out of Arizona, where we have trained folks there with FAQ documentation and other information that we provide to respond to any questions the campers have, ranging from calling 911 to answering the question for them for how to fix something or pitch their tent if they're having issues with that. So kind of with that hybrid of having the traditional on-site camp host experience that you would have, combined with the fact that you can text or call a phone number directly from your site and get a 24/7 response to it, that's very important for us, and something that we found is at our location by the Great Sanders National Park has been something that guests have really enjoyed and kind of frequently mentioned as something that they like about camping with us.
Great, thank you.
I have another question. It looks like the threshold standards will be exceeded for traffic, and I was wondering how that's going to be mitigated.
Yeah, that's a great question, and I don't necessarily have an answer for you today. We're going to be working closely with Road and Bridge and Rob Engelhardt on trying to determine how not only do we ensure that we're not going to have traffic issues associated with folks speeding and that kind of thing, but also to monitor that and determine how effective that's being. So I would say that that's a work in progress. I don't currently have ideas beyond additional signage, and I'll look to the Road and Bridge Department as professionals in terms of how we can mitigate that.
So we're talking about 25 campsites, right?
25 campsites, yes.
So 25 campsites, you assume one vehicle per campsite?
It could be possibly more. We've had a traffic engineer look at the site, and they've estimated 60 round trips a day.
That's quite a bit higher than the threshold of
That's right.
15.
Yeah.
That's part of their high impact permit, is because they are going to exceed the traffic.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but does the high impact permit require mitigation for threshold standards that are exceeded?
Well, they're identifying they're going to exceed the threshold limit with a high impact permit. If they don't exceed the limit, then their business isn't working. I mean, there's only a certain amount of mitigation you can do by limiting, number of cars per site, obviously. But that's the point of the high impact permit, is because it does exceed the threshold limits of the land use code.
Okay. They're going to exceed.
That's, yes. So that's why those parameters are stated there.
So this is basically going to run like a state campground, where your camp host is the police, and they keep the traffic down and they keep the noise down and everybody else down.
That's right. Okay. So, I mean, that's essentially what we're trying to replicate in a private setting.
Okay, in a private setting, okay. Anything else? No? Okay, well then, we'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to recommend to the Board of County Commissioners to to approve a proposed high-impact special use permit application and commercial plan unit development and rezoning application submitted by Ramble Outdoors Incorporated agent Benny and Sandra Cordova on property located at TBD Road 31, Dolores, Colorado, consisting of 9.05 acres more or less, and Conrad and Eva Hover, based on the following. The proposed use is in conformity with code. The proposed use shall not generate any significant adverse impacts on the other property in the area, and public utilities and services are available or can be made available to support uses consistent with the proposed zoning. And I have no conditions.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. No further discussion? Can we call for a vote? Don?
Commissioner Hernandez,
Aye.
Commissioner Saunders,
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor,
Nay.
Commissioner Lynch,
Nay.
Commissioner Neergard.
Aye.
Okay, the vote was passed 3-2. Three, two. Okay, we're good? Congratulations.
Thanks for the opportunity to address you all today.
Okay, Don, can we have roll call, please?
Yeah, just one second. Commissioner Hernandez,
Here.
Commissioner Saunders,
Here.
Commissioner Taylor,
Present.
Commissioner Lynch,
Here.
Commissioner Neergard.
Here.
Okay, we have additional discussions.
I don't know.
I think Don made. No?
Did you have
Nope.
those items you wanted to bring up, Mike, or no?
Yeah, I had assumed it was gonna be distributed to the other members of the board, but I guess I was wrong.
We can read them
We have something.
here.
Okay. Yeah, so, one of the things that I wanted to, talk about is, I don't know what the process is for amending the land use code, and what the timeline would look like. And, I was wondering if, maybe you could, go over that for me and review what that looks like.
It's terrible.
So you would have to go through the land use code, each specific paragraph, and highlight what it says and what you're proposing as a change with the background facts, what and why it needs to be changed. And whether you're looking at just a sentence, a word, a paragraph, a whole chapter.
Any wording changes?
Any changes at all. And then, obviously, that would be up for discussion and review. We could send that out to the rest of the members. They could respond individually back to our office. And then when it gets to the point of some agreement that you want to recommend that to the BOCC, then it would go to them. If they're inclined to take that recommendation, then it goes to a 30-day public notice for an amendment to the land use code. Depending on, if it's a significant change, a lot of changes, they may do 2 public hearings, 3 public hearings, they may do public outreach. That's been recommended. They didn't follow it. It turned into a train wreck. But
You're right.
That,
one 30-day notice, 1 public hearing is required, and then it is voted on.
so any additional public notices or meetings like in each of the municipalities, that would be up to the county commissioners to decide?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And if, you know how it is going to them. It could be anything and change 3 times.
Yeah.
They may task you with doing public meetings,
Yeah,
presentations, open houses, depending on
yeah,
the significance of the change or no change.
yeah. And so the timeline would be whatever it takes for us to work out a recommendation.
Burbage.
and then from there, presenting it to the commissioners and having at least one 30-day notice, so another 30 days from then, and possibly more. And then after the hearings have been conducted, then it comes back to the commissioners and they take a vote? Is that it?
Correct.
Okay.
We did
And-
not do any workshop the last time, and we were on different planets. So I would recommend that, having a board-to-board workshop with commissioners if we move forward.
Yeah, if we get down to the point
we
where
got
you
to
guys
it.
have a consensus,
After we looked at it.
Yeah, just before it even becomes like a real thing, because if it gets to them, then it's very much public. And I think having a board-to-board to discuss with them all the details before we even got to a place where they decided the parameters of how they want it advertised could be really valuable.
Yeah. So what we did today is we are recommending a change to the land use code for the RE6 issue.
correct.
So from that, I'm concluding that we don't have to go through the entire land use code making every change we think is necessary. If we have a need, if we feel there's a need to change one thing, we could go through and look for that one thing everywhere in the code and recommend that be changed now and do it in a stepwise fashion. So that is worked on first, and then after that one is resolved, then we maybe pick up another one
Yeah.
if there are more than one.
Correct.
Okay.
It
So
would
it is
be,
possible
it would not be
stepwise.
advisable to do that, because you're gonna spend 3 or 4 months to change one little thing, and then you don't want 3 more months to change one other little thing.
Because each public notice has to have 30 days.
Yeah,
So last time we did this in 2020, there was probably limited to, I think, 10 topics, 10 items, and they picked, I believe, the top 4 that they wanted to address.
Okay.
who, you were talking about the commissioners?
Correct. So as far as the school fees goes, Cortez changed this in 2021. The previous county attorney did not have us do a public notice, did not have it go to P&Z. It was presented to the commissioners, and then it was just an administrative fee adjustment within our fee schedule. So that's why the wording in there says, not only RE6, but the other school districts, because it has to go through this formal process. So that'll pick up Cortez's change from 21 as well as Mancos. But Mancos really needs to get this one on record so that they can change their fees.
Forward, yeah.
Yeah.
So, one possible justification for doing stepwise is if there is a very hot topic that is causing a lot of concern among the public, the landowners, us even, I would think that would be justification for doing, you know,
Oh, yeah.
in a stepwise manner.
Definitely. Yeah, you don't want like 4 major items all at the same time, because then it gets too convoluted and
And
kind
so-
of gets lost in translation.
And so one of the things that has come up in the past couple of months are the high-impact permits. And I'm wondering if those should be looked at again and reviewed to see if they're really meeting, or I don't know how to word it properly, but there's a lot of concern around high-impact permits for residentially AR zoned properties, and
So
I'm
that
wondering if
has
that
to
would-
have a special use permit with it.
yeah, I
Now, the
understand.
special use permit can be a one-time event, or it can be for the conducting of, I mean, all our cell towers, CO2 wells, infrastructure, major utilities, all of those have to have a special use permit. Those
Yeah,
aren't a
those-
one-time deal.
And
Those
they're all
typically-
on private property.
They're on AR property with a high impact permit, special use permit.
So you're saying high impact and the special use go together, but you don't necessarily have to have a special use with a high impact? Or special use doesn't have to have?
Special use does not have to have the high impact permit, but you
But the high
can have a
impact, yes.
special use permit on AR property. You can have a high impact permit only on commercial or industrial.
Okay.
It just depends on what specifically hits out of the code.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, our code's not real prescriptive, but it's got a lot to it. And if you guys, when you get these packets, if you've got a whole bunch of questions, just let me know so we don't have to do it in the middle of a public hearing. Just so we can, you know, describe or figure out what page or where, because like the commercial envelope, I don't know that it's actually in the land use code, but that is just the way that it's been passed from the last couple of 3 commissions, because, and it makes sense from a common sense standpoint. You don't want to zone 150 acres commercial
Right.
for a limited,
An acre or something going on.
so they term that a commercial envelope, but it does have a legal description. It is recorded. It can be identified. You can't do anything outside that boundary. If you want to change anything within that PUD, commercial envelope, you have to go back through the process to amend it, just like we did down there on H with the compound. And that went round a couple of times. One, they had the cabins, and then they wanted to add teepees, and then they wanted dry campsites, and so that's why that had to be amended, and they had to stay within the limits of that PUD legal description.
So the last 2 bullet points there are basically about the high impact permits and how they relate to residential property, and if they should be allowed on residential property when they're mentioned as commercial and industrial uses. So I'm asking if it's prudent or worth our time to take a look at it and see if there's any inconsistencies in the land use code in regard to high impact permits. The other issue that I've come across in the land use code is there are several references in the code that are incorrect, and we could clean those up at the same time.
Yeah, there's some administrative work. There's lots of language in the subdivision. But at the time we did this before, they went off on 1 acre lots through the whole county, and it turned into a big blowfish. It was never intended for 1 acre lots in the Dolores River Valley, and they ran that way, and it came back to bite them. So.
Buy it, yeah.
Something else that we might, or I would like us to look at is the intent that is written in the code to maintain rural character and the 3 acre minimum.
You are going to try and define the intent?
No, it says the intent is. I don't have to define it, it's already in there.
You have to define it because that's the subjective part of the land use code that you have to vote with.
Exactly. So.
There is no definition. There's a comprehensive plan. 12 people spent 2 years and came up with subjective parts of the land use code. Trash versus treasure. As far as I'm concerned, if we don't identify what is trash and clean up all these dead mobile homes around the county, then I wouldn't try and define another word in the whole thing. But that's my opinion.
So why don't we look at that? I would like to improve the code. I think there's room for improvement. If that is a current concern of yours, and you've been here years, why don't we look at that and see what we can do?
We can, the problem comes back to enforcement.
Yeah, no code enforcement.
And
Well,
and the other part of the,
Well-
the other part of the equation is some of the properties where this is the worst are the properties that can't take care of it. Monetarily, physically, with equipment, trying to haul it to the landfill. It's a bigger problem than just changing the wording and saying don't do that, because
Boils down to enforcement.
The enforcement's the key. That's
Well,
the key.
I mean, we.
it's
got-
the same as trying to say, okay,
Sheriff's not gonna
if you do an after the fact PUD, you're gonna pay 4 times. Well, that's a good concept, but, you know, we don't have the enforcement.
Right, that's,
But yet we have 80-plus pages of regulations. So just saying we don't have enforcement, I think we're giving up
We have
before starting.
We have limited enforcement. No, I'm not saying give up at all. I'm saying that we ought to clean up the language in chapters 4 and 5. But it's gonna take somebody to go through it and start the big
Start
concept of
defining intent.
defining and bringing it down from, 300 things in there that are wrong down to 5 or 10.
The technical changes should be easy, shouldn't they? I mean, this refers to this and it's non-existent, or whatever. There are things in there
Right.
that can be cleaned up that
Right,
should.
and referencing turning in 7 copies of a 24 by 36 plat for your subdivision. But it's just a matter of, I've been here and COVID hit, and it's been a disaster to try and keep up.
but
So we're addressing what we can when we can.
And we're only a department of 2.
Oh, yeah, the public, you've got,
yeah, then you gotta get them involved. But yeah, no, I'm with you.
When you start your land use code, you're gonna have, this room's gonna be filled.
Just like it was 3 years ago.
When you start affecting people's property and what they can do on their property, it took, just look at Cortez. They actually tried to do theirs, it took them 2 years, and they dropped it.
they just threw it all out.
They
And
threw it all out, and now they're getting ready to start back again to see what they can do. But I know it took the town of Mancos over 2 years to get our land use code, and we had meeting after meeting after meeting after special meeting. I mean, it doesn't happen overnight, and one word can make all the difference, and, I mean, you're supposed to be packed. So it's not as easy as you think to just change it, even administration, to say you need 7 packages, you want to change it to 6 packages or 5 copies. There's gonna be somebody who's gonna complain, and then they're gonna have 15 other people complain with them. So, it's a task. It really, really is.
But yeah, any of you guys that want to go through chapter by chapter and hit all the obvious stuff, more power to you. Because there's stuff that's outdated. It's doesn't apply to technology and electronic files and the way things operate now. It's just like, and the count, well, there's a, for instance, in high impact permits, we've had 2 county attorneys, and the current one would not let us enforce chapter 2 of the land use code. Because it says you will bring a high impact permit application to the BOCC, they'll review it, and they'll recommend it to go to P&Z or not. Well, then it goes to P&Z, and then it comes back to BOCC, so it's running in a circle of where it's basically been approved, to be sent to you guys to recommend, to approve what they said should be approved. And the current county attorney will not let them do a quasi-judicial review of anything that's coming before them in the future in a public hearing setting. So some stuff can be done and some can't, and I think it goes back to being subjective on who is interpreting and defining certain parts of our code. Our code's not real prescriptive, but there is stuff that you can look at certain ways and put something behind it, and then there's other ways where there's the gray areas so that you don't fit into a square box, but then it also leaves you open to questions, does it fit or not? Purely subjective.
Yeah. Everything is really, when you think about it.
It's just like our workshop. We went round and round and round and said, oh, it's cut and dried black and white, except the subjective parts.
Except for the gray area.
Except for where you have to decide if it fits or not. So,
Mr. Chairman, I move we adjourn.
Second.
That means we're adjourned. Thank you.
thank you guys.
Good night, guys. See you next month.
Appreciate it.
I get to go home and one of my friends from Carlsbad's coming in. I haven't seen him in like 30 years. Don't really want to see him. It's been a reason I haven't seen you in 30 years. It's a friend of mine I went to high school with.
Oh.
He's coming through town tonight. He's like, oh, I'm gonna come by and see you. And I'm like, I'm gonna be gone till like 9. He's like, oh, I'll come by.
Gentlemen, stay out of trouble.
Yes, sir.
We'll
It's
try.
no fun. It's no fun.
Those 4 a.m. mornings come early. I got to go.
I hear you.
4 a.m.
Thanks, Eddie.
He goes to the gym at 4.
Yeah.
Oh, you go to the gym? One of those kind of guys.